Welcome to Lawmen, a podcast about local legends and obscure curiosities from days of yore. I'm James Shakeshaft.
And I'm Alasdair Beckett-King.
And Alasdair, we are in the throes of a heatwave right now, so thank goodness I've got another chilling tale for you.
Phew.
It is The Tale of the Figure on the Stairs by Elliot O'Donnell.
Ooh, sounds fictionalized.
Maybe. Why not listen and find out? Alasdair.
James, I'm a little bit concerned.
About what?
Well, that we're recording this during a heat wave, and my fear is that the audience might listen to it during a heat wave and come off with the impression that it's very short and we're really tired and hot, when actually the episode is probably of a very high quality, and it's their hot ears not being able to hear it properly. Their ears might be too hot, is my concern.
Well, I'm also concerned because we tend to do some of the most odd episodes when it's the heat on.
It does seem to happen that way.
I think that's when, I think in a previous episode, we posited that in the Second World War, American GIs were coming over here and defiling our long barrows.
British skeletons, yeah.
Our good, honest British skeletons.
I think they seduced our skeletons, didn't they?
They did. I think they did.
With their silk stockings.
Exactly. Perhaps that didn't happen. Perhaps that was a fever caused by a previous heat wave. But Alasdair, as much as I did get you here to share in our terror at what a heat wave does to our recording, I also brought you here to tell you a little story.
I'm delighted to hear that. Yeah, I'm ready.
You mentioned earlier you didn't want to get doxxed.
Oh, am I being haunted?
Yeah. Terrible news.
Wow.
I've got a story from friend of the show, Elliot O'Donnell.
Beloved friend of the podcast, Irish liar, Elliot O'Donnell.
I'd just like to call us up on that because we've been presuming that Elliot O'Donnell is Irish.
What?
He does claim Irish ancestry.
Oh, of course. What a fool I was to believe him when he said he was Irish.
But he is actually from Bristol.
What?
Yep.
I can't believe he's not Irish.
Is that on you?
It's not a product. It's not a product, no.
Are you sure?
I can't have just thought he was Irish because of the surname. Surely not. Surely I checked.
His dad was Irish.
Oh, okay. So he's like British Irish. He's like, I'm Irish.
Well, that's American Irish, I think.
Yeah.
My great-grandfather was Irish. We should go for a pint. That's my Barack Obama, my perennial Barack Obama impression.
It's brilliant. It sounds a little bit like my Dan Aykroyd. The weird thing about Americans is they think everyone with red hair is Irish. I did a skit slightly making fun of Americans and put it on YouTube. I was making fun of them from a British point of view, kind of making fun of British people as well. And all the comments are just like, this Irish thinks he's British. Oh my, this is like the Irish Jesus. So I'm not Irish. There's nothing, I'm not Irish at all. They're like red hair. Irish. They're like, the guys who think that they're Irish also think I'm Irish.
It's, if anything, it's just evidence that they're not very good at detecting Irishness.
They are not.
No, but Elliot O'Donnell claimed descent from...
Apologies to Elliot and the people of Ireland.
Well, I'm gonna...
And America, just to be safe.
I'd better not apologise too hard because that will make the subsequent accent that I do for him seem a little disingenuous.
Oh, I thought you were just slipping into the accent there. A little disingenuous.
No, Elliot O'Donnell, he claims descent from Irish chieftains, including Niall of the Nine Hostages and Red Hugh.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's from Bristol, yeah. So he was... His years... are 1872 to 1965.
He died in the 60s.
He died in the 60s.
Mm.
And he wrote a bunch of books. I'm going to tell you some of them. He wrote 2 novels, one called The Unknown Depths, and my favourite, For Satan's sake.
A very weary Satanist there.
A Satanist whose little kids have just got to the end of their tether. Oh, for Satan's sake.
Who's moved my skulls? I had them here on the altar.
Who's turned my cross up the right way? Oh, for Satan's sake. Those are his novels. And then there's a whole bunch, and these are listed as non-fiction books. However,
yes, they are.
As we've discovered previously, in fact, I think as recently as last week, his non-fiction tales of ghost stories are written in a very fiction way.
Yeah, yes. His writing is very prosy. He knows an awful lot about what was said.
Yes.
In dialogue, in situations that he wasn't there.
He knows a lot about what was said by someone who only interacted with a ghost and then died. We're taking these stories with big pinches of salt, okay? They also might be useful to mark out a little pentangle in case we want to do something for Satan's sake.
And that's why the English phrase, a pinch of salt, is better than the Americanism, a grain of salt.
Oh, really?
That's not enough salt. Yeah, Americans are always saying, take it with a grain of salt. It's like, how are you picking that up? Tiny salt tweezers? Don't be absurd. A pinch of salt. I heard someone say, take it with a big grain of salt. It's like, try a pinch. The phrase is right there. A pinch of salt.
Is that like one rock of salt?
What do you mean? Like, yeah, one of those Himalayan bedside lamps, the big pink things. Just one of those.
Yes.
Just rub it onto your food. Or a salt lick.
Like a kind of salt deodorant.
Oh, a roll-on salt.
Roll-on salt taste.
Instead of the aerosol salt we all enjoy.
Yes. It's better for the environment than blasting out salt.
Exactly. No CFCs.
I've got one of those for my pepper. I've got one of those old things they used to chase bees with in old cartoons. You know, the sort of thing. It's like a funnel with a big...
Yeah, like a bee puffer, I think they were called. The things with smoke or poison in them.
Yeah.
Like a little bellows.
It was like a bunch of cylinders with a cool handle at the back. You go...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've only ever heard them called a bee puffer, but admittedly that was by a German who didn't know what they were called.
I mean, if a German's going to come up with a name for something, it is going to be absolutely obvious. I'm surprised they didn't put more, like, it wasn't called like a bee puffer, the thing that's made out of cylinders with the cool handle at the back. And that apparently is one word. I'm in a real pop of the German language.
Yeah. Yep. Take that. Take that,
the German language.
No, Germans basically never looked at a sentence they couldn't turn into a single noun.
But Alasdair, I've got a story here from his 1920 book, More Haunted Houses of London, which is the sequel
I think I can guess.
The spiritual sequel to...
Was it a gritty reboot of any kind?
Well, you'd think it might be it is the sequel to Haunted Houses of London. But Haunted Houses of London itself is the sequel to Some Haunted Houses.
Oh, that's quite broad.
Some poltergeists, some haunted houses. A quick rundown of his non-fictions. We got Some Haunted Houses, Haunted Houses of London, Byways of Ghostland, The Meaning of Dreams, Scottish Ghost Stories, The Sorcery Club, Werewolves, Animal Ghosts, Ghostly Phenomena, Haunted Highways and Byways, The Irish Abroad. Don't think that's about ghosts. 20 years experience as a ghost hunter. We've got haunted places in England. Menace of spiritualism. And then we've got more Haunted Houses of London. And then
he came back to the Haunted Houses series.
Yeah. I think maybe the spiritualist got to him. And he was like, no, I need to stick with what I know. It says that he never did any work with the Society of Psychical Research, by the way. Oh. Although he was active at the same time as them.
Who does that reflect well upon? It's hard to say. Them, because he's obviously making it up, or him, because they were all horrible.
He did. It says he spent the night in a church with with a name that escapes me for now from them. So I guess they might have chatted on the pews.
Yeah, mutual sort of respect, but maybe a wariness. Sort of on the street. Tilt your head back a little bit. Yep.
This one is called The Figure on the Stairs. Subtitle, Being a Case of Haunting near Sydenham.
Sydenham, not far from, again, not to dox myself, but not far from the South Circular.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We're in southeast London.
But we're talking some years ago from 1920.
Oh, so the ghosts are probably dead by now.
Fingers crossed. There's a cottage, and that's midway between Crystal Palace Park Road and Sydenham. And it was supposed to be haunted. And to be fair, I think what he's done is he's kind of taken the various stories about it and kind of just wrapped it up in a narrative.
No way. I mean, that is what we do on this podcast sometimes. So
exactly.
So fair enough.
So one night, Charles Vyse was taking a stroll down and around Crystal Palace Park Road. And it says he was so buried in thought that he didn't really realize what he was going. And then he plunged into a deep rut and woke to the fact that he'd wandered off the main thoroughfare.
Sorry, he fell into a hole.
Where I think he just sort of like tripped over a hole. Was like, oh.
He fell into a hole, and his first thought was, "I'm no longer on the main thoroughfare," rather than "I'm in a hole."
I don't think he fell like fully into a hole. I think.
Wait a minute, this isn't Sydenham Road. Yeah, you're in a hole. It isn't any road.
I'm in a small hole. No, I think he just sort of tripped over in it. He plunged into a deep rut.
Right. It's not a literal rut, not a spiritual career,
not a funk,
personal rut.
He's realised he's wandered off into the woods because it's quite countryside around there. And it says the night was too dark for him to see very distinctly, but from what he could make out, the lane was skirted by low hedgerows and threaded its way through a succession of kitchen gardens or allotments and fields. And he could see like a few little houses, little small buildings like sheds or outhouses. And he's just having a bit of a walk around. He's having a night. He's not that bothered that he's now potentially a little bit lost, because this sort of countryside reminds him of the brazen banks of Argyll and the moors around his ancestral home in County Donegal.
Oh. So is this guy Irish or Scottish?
I don't know. I think he just travelled. I think,
right.
Or he was American. and didn't understand there was a difference.
Well, I've been to this area and none of it reminded me of Argyll, but I guess there's more buildings there now.
I think there's more buildings there now because this is like many years before 1920. So I'm guessing, potentially pre even the Crystal Palace being up.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, it probably isn't, but it could be.
But around Crystal Palace was quite a countryside-y area because people would go there to take in the air, I think, to escape the stench of the city.
Not now. The stench has reached it.
And he's sort of daydreaming or night dreaming, but awake, so daydreaming of Argyll and Donegal. And then he hears the sudden booming of a church clock and he counts it. It's 12. It's the most amount of bongs you can have. Anyway, so yeah, it's midnight and he's out there and he thinks, I'm going to go on for a bit. I've got my key. It's going to be fine. And he comes across an old cottage that was obviously uninhabited and apparently on the verge of collapsing. So he could see the rafters, the thatch had all, blown away over time. And he could see there's no glass in the windows. What glass there was in the windows was cracked and broken. And as he says here, that the trellis work, I'm going to do this in my best Elliot O'Donnell voice, that the trellis work of the porch was, without exaggeration, fallen in fragments.
It's like someone from Bristol was here in the recording studio, covered in hay. A sort of old tweedy jacket with all bit holes that had just been cut straight into it by the costume department to indicate rusticness. You know, when they do that, they get that little unpicker and just like take out a few stitches. There you go. You're a farmer.
There you go. The past.
The olden days. I don't know what accent I was trying there. Just general olden days. The olden days.
The olden days. Something about the place kind of appeals to him. And he decides to do a little bit of exploring. A little bit of, what's it called? Urban
exploration.
Urban exploration. Yeah, simply that. Yeah. Urban X.
Urbex if you don't have time to say the whole thing out because you are committing a crime.
So he goes up the path and he pushed open the crazy old door and stepped in, not my words, by the way, the words of Elliot O'Donnell.
How crazy was the door?
Mate, it was, without exaggeration, fallen in fragments.
Okay, all right.
He pushed open the crazy old door.
I guess I've just seen crazier doors than that, but all right.
It sounds better though if you do it in the
fallen in fragments.
He pushed open the crazy old door and stepped into a kind of passage. And he realizes he's in a sort of semi-basement The back of the house is on higher ground or lower ground than the front.
This is quite common in London. The front door and the back door are not on the same level.
It is actually, isn't it?
Yeah, so that has the ring of truth about it.
It was, in fact, a very oddly constructed building, unlike any other that Vyse had seen. There were rooms and passages galore, and yet, from the front, it appeared quite tiny.
We got a TARDIS. We got some kind of TARDIS situation.
And he begins walking very gingerly, because the boards are loose and rotten, and he explores the ground floor, and he goes up the rickety stairs, and he opens one of the doors, and he stumbled over something that slipped away from him and went scampering down the stairs.
Probably one of Elliot O'Donnell's goblin friends.
He's actually what the two ghosts that Elliot O'Donnell does claim to have seen were. He says that when he was 5-year-old, he saw an elemental figure covered in spots.
Oh,
which I've just made the connection with Mr. Blobby, and I think I can't unthink that.
Yeah, Blobby's always been there, really, in the subconscious.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's terrifying.
Trying to come into existence, trying to break through.
Trying to blob through. Anyway, this thing that pushed past, he realizes it's just a rat, and he laughs, and he goes on with his exploration. He's found out the whole upper floor, and he goes all the way.
And a good old laugh with a rat on the landing.
It's just having a laugh with a rat.
First the door, now this. What a nutty house.
As he was descending the flight of steps leading to the semi-basement kitchen, one of his feet catches in a hole and he falls backwards with a crash. And for several minutes he lay stunned, and on recovering consciousness, it took him some time to realise where he was and what had happened. He tried, of course, to get up, but finding he could not extricate his foot from the hole into which he had stepped, and that his ankle, which he feared must be badly sprained, was causing him the most excruciating pain. So he gives up trying to get out, and he just sort of sinks down, feeling utterly helpless and forlorn. Yes, in fact, he decides to just have a nap. I'm going to have a nap, and when I wake up, hopefully my ankle will be better and I won't be in a hole.
Just wait for that situation to sort itself out.
But it didn't work.
No way.
Yeah, he tried lying on his back.
I guess you can't sleep your way out of every problem.
He tried lying on his back and tried putting his arm through the banisters, but the violent twitchings of his foot gave him little peace, and there's cold currents of air blowing down the stairs, chilling him to the bone. He did relapse into a kind of stupor, in which he lost cognizance of his surroundings, and his mind was a mere jumble. And then dawn breaks, and the sun starts to illuminate the darkness around him. He just succeeded in freeing himself when he's startled by the sound of a heavy thud. Alasdair, this time, it ain't no laughable rat.
No, it's not a hilarious rat. What is it?
No, it's two men, tiptoeing stealthily along the passage, facing him and halting at the foot of the stairs. And he could see their faces clearly, and they've got furrowed brows, and they are sinister-looking ruffians.
Oh, not ruffians.
Alasdair, their eyes are glittering cruelly.
Oh, are they? Well, he is in South London.
Mm-hmm.
What did he expect?
And he can see they're staring, but not at him. There's something behind him, and turns around at the top of the stairs with a look of ghastly horror on her white face was an old woman. She was in her nightclothes, and she basically looked like she'd been asleep and had been disturbed by these two people and had come out to find out what's going on.
And all the while, he's just lying there with his foot in the hole.
Sort of half on the stairs, yeah. She didn't look at him. She just looked at these two ruffians, and one of them unclasped a murderous-looking knife and puts his foot on the staircase with the intention of ascending. And the woman, at this point, her jaw dropped, her eyes grew glassy, and her limbs stiffened, just as if the hand of death had suddenly fallen on her. Vyse cries out, like, what are you doing? Presumably. But the figures of the two men and the women at that point instantly vanish.
Wow.
And
they were ghosts, James.
They were ghosts all along. And despite how painful his ankle is, Vyse hot tails it out of there. High tails?
Hot foot or high tail?
High tails and hot foots. His hot tail out of there. That doesn't sound good.
Wow, 3 ghosts.
Some months afterwards, Alasdair, a somewhat curious sequel to this incident occurred. So, he's living in Earl's Court. He put an advertisement in one of the papers for 2 unfurnished rooms and received a letter from a certain Lady B, because this is the time when they're abbreviating.
That's the letter B, not the insect.
Yes.
Not a Lady B.
I'm ever so sorry. Yes, this is not a Lady B. This is Lady B, stating that she, Lady B, had 2 rooms in her house that might suit his purpose and invited him to call.
House hunting was a lot easier in those days. Just put a letter in the newspaper saying, I'm looking for a house, and or a place to stay, and someone who had a place was like, oh, great, you can live with me.
Yeah, have a go on some of my house.
Incredibly easy.
So he goes there, and when he gets there, the woman that meets him at the door, he recognizes. Her hair, her features, her height are all exactly the same as the old woman he saw.
The old lady
on
who
the
was
stairs.
murdered.
Where on the stairs? There on the stairs, right there.
So it was a premonition.
A little old woman with a nightie on. Well, I declare. Yeah, it's not just him that recognizes her, Alasdair. She recognizes him. She says, may the saints preserve us if it isn't he, the man of my dream. And he's like, what?
He's like, all right, darling, buy me a drink first.
Or I'll high foot my hot tail out of here.
Oh, that ain't a Bristolian accent. This guy's not from Bristol. No, he can have any accent he wants.
Exactly. He's got an Earl's Courtian accent, which is, it sounds like me. So yeah, she tells him that for many years, she used to dream of living in this weird cottage with a dark and sinister basement. And she dreamt that she slept in a room where there's a cupboard full of gold. And every night she woke sweating with terror to hear someone trying to break into the house.
Well, it sounds like he has no choice but to go back to that cottage to try and find the gold.
She says that in one night, in a dream more frightfully realistic than she'd hitherto experienced, she was certain that burglars had got into her lower premises of the house. And she believed that her one chance of safety was to get to the hall, bolt the door from the kitchen, the door that cut off the basement, before these burglars could get up there. So she runs down there, rushes to the stairs. She arrives to the head of the kitchen stairs, and she finds that there's no door there anymore. This is kind of dream logic, I'm guessing.
Yeah, very dreamy.
And she was too late to escape because footsteps were already coming up the stairs. And she decided to go to the top step and look down, and she could see these 2 dreadful ruffians with their evil faces and horrible weapons in their hands. And it says, and as their eyes met hers, she saw them light up with a hideous look of glee. Springing forward, they were about to rush at her when a young man, of whom she declared Vise was the living image, suddenly appeared on the stairs and barred their way.
Oh.
And the burglars turned tail and fled. And she was about to thank him when she seized with a sudden sense of giddiness and faints against the wall.
She fainted in the dream. Okay, I think then you go into a sub-dream, usually.
Yeah, I think so. And it's Leonardo DiCaprio all the way down. She wakes, and then she sort of wakes from that and realizes it was all a dream. And she's, since that night, it says she never dreamed of the cottage again. And then Vice tells her his story, and they compare the dates, and they come to the conclusion that the dream she dreamed had last occurred on the very night of his ghostly adventure at the cottage.
Okay, all right.
So
did he save her from dream thieves?
I don't know.
Ghost burglars of the mind?
He did some research, wanted to see what would happen if she went to the house and would she recognize it. So he takes her to Crystal Palace Park Road with her servant. The servant, for some reason, upon entering, declares most emphatically that it was without question the cottage she dreamed about.
How does the servant have that information?
I don't know. There's a cupboard, but there's no gold. Alasdair, I'm sorry, there's no gold.
Elliot O'Donnell, why didn't you put gold in the cupboard to make it seem more realistic?
And Vice subsequently learns that many years previously, a miserly old woman had lived in the cottage and was said to be enormously rich, and was found standing at the top of the kitchen staircase one morning in her night attire, stone dead.
Okay. All right. So he and this old woman were reliving the actual history of the miserly woman who lived there.
I guess so.
Is that the idea?
I think so. And it was just random coincidence that those two found each other, I guess.
Yeah.
You're going to score this story?
I'd love to score it.
Come on then.
Just give me a first category. I can't wait.
Naming.
Okay, well, I see now why you read every single title that Elliot O'Donnell ever thought of.
Huh? Oh, for Satan's sake.
Oh, for Satan's sake. Yeah, for Satan's sake. It's not oh, for Satan's sake, is it? You've added the O there to give it a bit of character.
I did add the O for, yeah.
In the title of the recording studio you've set up, you've slightly mistyped his name to make it Elliot O'Donnell, which makes him sound like the battle angel.
Yes, or some sort of Spanish, like elite.
Yeah, the top level of O'Donnell. We're talking Elliot O'Donnell.
The Elliot O'Donnell.
And Don also means boss in Spanish, so really quite an authoritative name.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really weak, I'm afraid. It's 2. It's 2 out of 5. Maybe that's just because I'm impatient because it's hot and the names have irritated me. Or maybe it truly was a low-scoring name category.
Not even 1936's Spookerisms. 25 weird happenings. Is that
You didn't say Spookerisms first time around.
I've already just seen it.
You saved Spookerisms for when it was most needed. 3 out of 5. Purely for Spookerisms.
Spookerisms? Okay then, next category. Supernatural.
Well, it's high, but also confusing because we're dealing with dreams, not premonitions, but echoes of things in the past. Ghosts that intrude into dreams, psychic projection. What are we dealing with? What is it?
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Oh, is that a quote?
That was George Lucas.
Was that George Lucas?
That was meant to be George Lucas. Yeah. Right. So, but the supernatural. Come on.
Supernatural. It's high, but it's unclassifiable.
Yeah.
So I think that's gonna dent it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think it's a 4.
Yes.
Because it's supernatural, but I don't know what we're dealing with here, James.
No, me neither.
What is your third category, James Shakeshaft?
It is What Dreams May Come.
Of course, a reference to the Robin Williams film, What Dreams May Come.
Yes, yes.
And Hamlet, is it?
Yes.
In that sleep of death, What Dreams May Come?
Yes.
You're a Shakespearean trained actor.
I'm a Shakespeare guy.
You're a Shakespeare trained man?
Yeah, I'm one of the Shakespeare guys.
Yeah, he's a Shakespeare guy, listen.
Yes, what dreams, in Somewhere About Death, What Dreams May Come. Somewhere Undiscovered Country, which is also a Star Trek film.
From whose bourne no traveller returns, maybe?
Yep, and then the next line is The Voyage Home, and then it's Search for Spock.
Search for Spock, yeah. Yeah, so we're pretty genned up when it comes.
What Dreams May Come, because...
What dreams might come.
I've got a feeling some, or if not all, of the Australian stuff is going to go in the bonus.
All right, well, I just want the listener to know that James has cut out a huge bit where we reconstructed Star Trek The Next Generation with Australian accents. So if that isn't a reason to sign up to hear us talking about things I'm so tired. I'm so tired. If that isn't a good enough reason to sign up for the Patreon, I don't know.
No, I don't know. If that...
Can't believe that hasn't made the episode proper.
If that doesn't entice you to hear the bonus episode, then nothing will.
And if that has stayed in the episode, imagine the quality of the stuff that wasn't deemed as good as that.
But, Alasdair, What Dreams May Come. It is literature worthy of Shakespeare for a start.
Yep.
It is...
great writing.
Basically a series of dreams, because the man even... admits that he falls asleep on the stairs.
Yes, he has kind of a dream. She has a dream, but the dream is an echo of the moment of death of that woman.
Exactly. And the What Dreams May Come, in the Shakespearean reference in the Hamlet is referring to death. And this obviously features a death of that lady, the old miserly old lady with a cupboard full of gold.
Yeah. And like Robin Williams, I found the story quite funny and sometimes a bit mawkish.
With some great accent work from me.
Yeah, yes. Also, yes, you really vanished into the character of a Bristolian man,
of a Bristolian person. So what are we talking?
I think it's 5 out of 5. I don't want the listener to think I don't know anything about Shakespeare.
You definitely don't want them to think you know nothing of Star Wars, Star Trek. Oh God, oh God. We did also talk about Star Wars in a bit. That's also probably in the bonus.
Yeah.
Okay, my final category.
Hit me.
Don't go there.
Because you shouldn't have gone into that cottage.
He's trespassing.
Yeah.
in the very first place. Round a rickety old house.
He shouldn't have gone on the stairs.
No, because then he fell down them stairs. The burglars shouldn't have gone there.
They shouldn't have gone there.
Because burgling's not cool.
And when it comes to the move to murdering an old lady for gold,
don't go there.
Don't go there. No.
In a way, the old lady that went to bolt the door, but then found the door had gone.
Yeah.
And then took a step onto the stairs, thus seeing something that made her died. She probably shouldn't have gone there.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weird one, but yes.
Maybe should have just run away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why that old servant was there and how come they knew exactly what was going on.
Very weird, yes.
They certainly went there.
You're right, though. They did go there in the end.
They did go there.
And this category, James, is don't go there.
Oh.
Well, don't go there. You said it.
Go there.
With a sort of inflection.
I did.
So I'm afraid it's a 4 out of 5 because after they went there, they did then go there.
Oh.
They shouldn't have. Well, I did. I went there too. So it's a 4.
Darn it.
Talk to a spooky severed hand.
Talk to the hand of glory.
Yeah.
Because that would have made everyone fall asleep in the house and they could have burgled without frightening that made up old lady to death.
Yeah, and all of this stuff that didn't happen would never have happened.
Exactly.
Mm. What a truthy, definitely true, actually happened tale that was, James.
Yes, and definitely exacerbated by the fact that we're both sweating whilst recording this.
Yeah. Try not to think about that, listener.
Sorry. If you would like to hear that Star Trek stuff, do go to the patreon.com/lawmenpod where you can sign up for all the bonus episodes and you get access to the Lawfolk Discord. Thank you very much to all the people who already do support us there. Thank you very much to Joe for editing this.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to think of Australian nicknames for the different alien races in Star Trek, but the problem is they all sound really racist. But you can't just take a race and then put an O on the end of it without it sounding offensive.
Klingos.
The Klingos. The Romulos. Oh, the Romulos are off uncloaking. There's a Romulo warbird uncloaking.
I only really know those two. What other ones? What was the one with Borgo? Sounds like they're mates with it, doesn't it?
You've actually made it longer. Yeah.
Yeah.